Now back to the show. This is The Law Show on CL 650.
We are family. I got all my sisters with me.
I do have my sisters with me. We have Alyssa Lockhart, partner at McQuarrieHunterLLP, and Leah Donaldson. Do you like that?
I did.
All right. So we're going to get into what is an executor or a trustee in a will, and why is it important to choose somebody or the right person? What are the roles, and why is it important?
Well, an executor is the person who takes the will forward to the probate registry and proves the will. So we take the will forward, we say this is the last will, we've looked everywhere that we can to find a later dated will and we have not come up with one. I'm the person named as the executor. This person is in fact deceased, and we ask the court to grant us the authority to act then as the legal representative of the estate. So once we obtain the grant, what we're doing is we're taking all of the assets of the deceased into our name in trust as the executor, and we're dealing with them in accordance with the provisions of the will.
So they are kind of like the power of attorney. I'll use lay terms, the power of attorney until the will is finalized and done. So you're in charge.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So choosing that person is vital.
It is. It's somebody who understands the importance of timeliness. It's somebody who won't be overly emotionally affected by your passing. It's somebody, I mean, grief is fine, but leaving something for 5 years because we just can't look at it, that's not okay. And also when we have wasting assets. So in 2008, 2009, the markets are falling, the housing market is falling. Somebody who wasn't able to just pick up the ball and run with it would have cost an estate a lot of money and may have been personally liable for any delays. So we want to make sure that somebody understands timeliness. But really, is it someone who can work comfortably with accountants, lawyers, realtors, CRA, your pension company, maybe your union, your employer? Do they know where your assets are? Do they know how to find your assets if you haven't been keeping them all in one drawer in your desk in your home?
So is this usually a brother or a sister? Or is it usually a family member?
It's typically a family member. We see spouses naming one another. One of the biggest reasons for that is that when I pass away, the last thing my husband wants is my mother or my best friend coming in and telling him, just sit down, we have to itemize everything in the home.
Right.
Right? So, yes, it's usually your spouse, if your spouse is competent and comfortable with it. And then you might look to a sibling, somebody of similar age not likely to die before you, or of younger age likely to die after you.
And what happens if you don't have an executor in place? Maybe they've passed away, you've named somebody and they're no longer around. What happens then?
So normally there's an alternate, but if you didn't draft your will properly, there perhaps isn't an alternate. And then someone will have to apply to court to be appointed as the personal representative. We also see, I think the most common one would be delay. So some people that are just passive, it's not the situation where you can say, oh, my taxes aren't due to this date, I'm going to wait to the last minute. It's not that situation. You have to be active, you have to take steps, be proactive on top of things, and you do have a duty to account to all of the beneficiaries of the estate, which is an important obligation.
So is there no rule that you should have an estate wrapped up within a certain amount of time to help put that pressure on people to get things done, or can things be open-ended indefinitely?
Well, we talk a lot about what we call the executor's year, and the executor's year is largely misunderstood. Most estates, in my experience, are not fully wound up and fully reported on the taxes and everything distributed within a year. But what we do want is we want the executor to have ascertained the assets and the liabilities of the estate within that year. We have to collect everything, identify everything, and really understand all of the asset and liability position fairly quickly. Now, I think that we can, in most estates, agree that a year would be a very long time. So most people will expect their executor to move beyond that ascertaining step within the first year. We would like to see the application for the grant to have been made. Leah, what do you see on delay?
I see some serious delays. So I have one file right now where, we weren't counsel on the matter for a period of time, but I believe he passed away in 2008,
Wow.
and the estate is not wound up.
For almost 10 years.
Yes. So most estates are a little bit quicker. Sometimes we have people come in and say, it doesn't look like they're doing anything, and then we can help them, open that line of communication and say, you are obligated to do X, Y, and Z, and then they can report. And that sometimes happens usually within a couple of years. But like I said, there are those instances of severe delay.
And is that just negligence or?
It's just failing in their duty to take those steps, and they are personally liable. So it's a huge responsibility.
All right. So in our last minute or so here, anybody listening to the show that has a will or has an old will or doesn't have a will, I know what your advice is going to be, but let's go and find out anyway. What do you say to those people?
Get a will. I think we last month we had Make a Will Week, and I think that a lot of people...
I didn't get that on my calendar. It didn't pop up on my phone.
Your calendar. It's one of the most important weeks of the year.
Yeah. Make a Will Week. Were you busier?
I don't experience an influx during Make a Will Week, but we do get out and we do, as a legal community,
right.
We do advise people of how important it is.
Mm-hmm.
So that is always our advice. Just it is so important to recognize that what you don't know might hurt you more than what you think you know. Mm-hmm. So even if you don't have a will at the end of the day, talking to a lawyer about what you think is going to happen might clarify. It might say, yeah, that's fine, I'm good. But I doubt it. I think for most of my clients who were reticent about getting a will, sitting down and really understanding what happens to your assets if you don't have a will, and the difficulty that your family will face in organizing them, comparatively speaking, it's a good enough reason to get a will, even if your assets aren't complex.
Well, thank you both for coming in again. We will have you back shortly to talk more about wills and estates. Alyssa Lockhart, partner, and Leah Donaldson, associate at McQuarrie LLP. Thank you very much. And we'll speak to you next time. That's all the time we have for The Law Show. I'm Zach Spencer. Speak to you next time on CL 650.